This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And we'll be taking you to Bawku pretty shortly. And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone, where in the last few minutes, we're learning a bus carrying trainee nurses has just been attacked following the killing of at least 4 people in the last couple of days. We are on the ground. We'll be speaking to the Bawku Municipal Security Council. The chair has declared the area is a no-safe zone there currently for anybody. Our reporter will also join us. This is a fluid developing story. We go there pretty shortly. But also, first, we have some news just coming in, some exclusive details from the IMF Executive Board meeting that my colleague George Yafe has been following up for us, and he joins me in the studio with this. And George, all day we've been waiting for some news from this IMF Executive Board meeting. I made a point about second review. This is indeed the first review after the release of the initial 600 million. What do we know tonight? We know there's a major joint press conference at 7, but we're getting some exclusive details ahead of that.
What we understand that the executive board met today. Ghana is not the only country that they review in terms of program performance, but what we understand is that Ghana was the first country that the board considered its program based on the report that the staff presented to them as to how Ghana has fared under the program. What we understand is that Ghana has passed this first review. What it means is that the board has actually approved almost $600 million to be disbursed to Ghana. Now, all other things being equal, it should take about 2 working days, or even Monday, or even Tuesday, for that amount of money to hit Bank of Ghana's account. But yes, the fund or the board has approved Ghana's program, as in the first review we've passed it, but there were some concerns, and the concerns that they raised had to do with fiscal discipline in an election year. What assurance, what is government doing to ensure that it stays on course, especially in an election year, and ensure that they contain any overrun, because that is the fear that the program could derail if government doesn't stick to what it has agreed under this program, and when even it comes to spending in an election year and expenditure in the 2024 budget.
And that is absolutely critical. It's not only the IMF worried about this, the World Bank is worried about this too. In fact, you've been speaking to the World Bank country director, who, of course, we know has left now, and he also makes a similar point.
Yeah, he makes an argument that, it's a very important thing, but he also explained in that sound that being an election year, they have a target or a deadline that by June, if we do not make any drawdowns, it appears there will be freeze in spending. And it appears if you deduce meanings into what he was saying, it was more about concern that maybe any fresh funding will end up getting into that budget overrun.
Our policy is not to disburse budget support too close to elections. So it will be important that both the team and Ghana work very hard to get the conditions for the second operation early enough. If it's too close to the elections, we will find it difficult to disperse.
Are you afraid of whatever new government taking over? That's why.
No. We are not afraid of anything. It's just a policy. It's a policy, but also perception, because we don't want to give cash to any government in election time. We all know election times is when generally there's what do you call that? Temptation or pressure to spend. I know. And it's a policy bank always does. We don't give budget support or even certain operation like cash transfers very close to election. But just to clarify, we're not scared of anything. This government, or
maybe you have intelligence or whatever, and that's
if there's a change in government. Recently, I met with His Excellency John Mahama, and it's normal as part of a dialogue. I mean, we listen to them, and the World Bank works with the government of the day. If this government stays, we work with them. If another one comes, we'll sit and.
And that there is the immediate past country director for the World Bank.
Pierre Laporte raising concerns about budget overruns and election-related spending. And you heard himself arguing that because of fears that we might end up spending more than what has been approved and all the rest, when it gets to after June, they freeze any spending to the country. And even just cast your mind back to 2016. And in the last quarter to elections from September that is where the concern came and the taps were opening. So all these development partners are concerned. And Evans, you realize that anytime we've had concerns with our economy, it has to do with post-elections.
Yeah, and this is important because as you're just joining us, we're just learning exclusive details from that IMF Executive Board meeting that indicates that they have approved this first review, paving the way for the release of $600 million. The key question is, what is government going to use the money for? The finance minister has told you that projects will begin, projects that have stalled will begin. The key concern is it going to be spent for election-related expenditure for the purposes of winning votes? We just had the immediate past country director of the World Bank say that is a concern for everybody. Now, tonight, we're expecting the finance ministry and the IMF to hold a joint
as well
press
as the Bank
briefing.
of Ghana,
Exactly. We expect at that particular event, they will formalize what we've just been learning, telling us what has happened and what that means for this economy. When the money is expected in the accounts, you are going to be there tonight. There's a lot riding on this because this has delayed. So we want it in account as quickly as possible. And then the impact will begin.
But Evans, it's not just about the money coming in and for the development partners and even the institutional investors out there. How committed is the government Ghana or the country Ghana to fiscal prudence and when it comes to sticking to the targets under the program? And that is why for these donors and for these investors, they are waiting for the staff report on Ghana when they say that Ghana has passed the first review. What are they saying about the economy, government expenditure, revenue, and fiscal operations?
And I tell you, that's what we are all waiting for. We all want to read that. The IMF is very transparent in that process, and they will issue a very detailed report on this that will be published. So we'll get to learn that. But we're also expecting to learn a bit more tonight. You were leading this coverage. We have a special coverage for you of this joint IMF Finance Ministry press conference at 7. But we are beginning our conversation ahead of that on television. You want to join George and the team for that because this is very critical for this economy going forward. George, thank you very much for that. We're going to be joining you on television at 6:30 as we build into 7 and post that announcement and the press conference. You also get to get some analysis and put it in context how that should affect you. That's also going to unlock a few more funds from the World Bank and others. So there is a lot to go through for you tonight. Join us on television for that. I want to quickly return to our developing story in Bawku. In the last few minutes, we've been working the lines to confirm what we're learning that just before we came on air, a bus carrying trainee nurses was attacked in Bawku, and this follows a killing of 4 people, at least 4 people in the last few days. We know that the chair of the Bawku Municipal Security Council has declared the area a no-safe zone. He actually goes ahead to say he believes it's the most dangerous conflict zone in the world. Pretty serious stuff to hear from the chair of the Municipal Security Council. I want to bring in quickly my colleague who's been following this for us, our Upper East Regional Correspondent, Albert is on the line with us. Albert, let's quickly get into the details of what we are learning about this attack on the bus carrying trainee nurses. What more do we know?
Yes, Evan. So this incident happened less than an hour ago from the information that we have gathered. At the moment, the injured are currently at the Bawku Presby Hospital and receiving treatment in intensive care. What we are understanding is that they just went on, they are on vacation and they were leaving the school in a group on a bus towards Bolga when their bus was ambushed by 2 men on a motorbike very close to the barrier at Binduri, and they fired at their bus. We also know that there were about 45 students, trainee nurses in the bus. There's no casualty, but several of them are injured and are receiving treatment in the hospital as we speak.
We are just beginning to see the pictures now of the injuries. Some of them are very serious injuries, and you've seen them yourselves on this in this particular latest attack that just happened. Albert, stay with me. Thankfully, we can bring in the Bawku Municipal Security Council chair, who himself has been under significant pressure. He says he himself doesn't feel safe anymore in that particular community. Amadou Hamza joins us right now. Mr. Hamza, thanks for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you so much.
Have you been briefed about this latest attack?
Yes, my security commanders have briefed me about it. Exactly the point you mentioned, Bawku Nursing Training College students on vacation, and they were passing through Bolga. They got to a suburb of Bawku known as Bazwa, and they were shot by unknown assailants. Indeed, one person is injured in the hand, and so he's responding to treatment. The rest of the students, including the bus, has been escorted by the police to Bolga. That's the latest incident in Bawku.
And what must have triggered this? I mean, because this is a bus carrying training nurses. Why?
There's nothing that can trigger anything in Bawku. The firing can start at any moment. It is about 24 hours then. Anytime, any day, gunshots can just start without any cause, and that's it. You don't need to say that there's a cause or something that must have triggered another thing to happen. No, it is just like that. Bawku has been like that. Any day, anytime, somebody can just get up with his gun and start firing at you. By the time the military or the police gets there, the person is gone. That's it.
But knowing what you know on the ground, was this bus deliberately targeted?
I cannot say so, because I am not part of those who actually orchestrated or perpetrated this injustice to the innocent students. But I can tell you that usually it's targeted, and there are other occasions where it's not targeted, where the bus come in and then they just shot at it. That's all. They're looking for any other bus or any other person moving on the road, and then the person is shot at. That's it.
I mean,
so with this, I cannot ascertain and to disclose whether or not the bus has been targeted or not. I can't see.
I mean, but considering how unsafe Bawku is, and you've already been talking about this today, I mean, the roads are not safe. We don't have security, military, police patrolling the highways. That
patrols. We have 5 major routes in Bawku. One is that from Bolgatanga coming to Bawku. It's one of the routes. Then one also leads from Bawku Township to Pulmakom, that is Widana, along the Togo barrier. Then the other one goes to Kulugungu, and that is going to Burkina Faso. Then the other one goes to Garu. Then the last one is from Bawku Township going to Moglori, which is also a border to Burkina Faso. So all these roads, we have been able to strategically ensure that we have patrols. But the citizenry are so smart to the extent that you cannot have enough security men to be stationed at 100 meters away from the other point. So usually they would look at a point where there's no security and they will attack there. Before you can say, Jack, the people are gone. So, so that has been our challenge. The biggest issue is on the main road, where people feel unsafe. Bawku is right from the 40s and then the 30s in Bawku. It's been that majority of our citizens are moving to Burkina and Togo to conduct their businesses daily and back to Bawku. But as I talk to you, in the last 2-3 years, it's been very difficult, extremely difficult for people to travel to Burkina Faso and then Togo to conduct their businesses.
And as we've just been speaking, a bit more is coming in on this latest attack on this bus carrying trainee nurses. And this is a bit of the sounds we're getting from those injured who have currently been admitted in hospital.
Arranging them to sit down before you finish that and sit down and let the incident just happen.
Nabiya, Karim.
And what you're hearing there sounds of the hospital room where some of the victims have just been rushed in the last hour. They were targeted, possibly, as we've just been listening there to the Bawku Municipal Security Council chair who just been speaking to us. They were targeted, possibly, but what we know tonight is that the bus carrying the trainee nurses were fired into. Many of the trainee nurses were left injured. I still have with me Albert Sorry, who's still with me on the line. Albert, this is something that the residents in Bawku are very used to, but it appears this is a significant escalation following what has happened over the last few days. The voices you hear in the background, you have been sharing that with us. In terms of the numbers of people affected by this latest attack and how they're faring in the hospitals, have your sources told you anything more?
So the information was a bit scanty because this incident, as I said, happened not too long ago. I got several calls, and so I wasn't able to piece all the information together. So at the moment, we do not know the number who are injured. There is one person that we have seen from the visuals that we have, but from what my source is saying, there could be more. The MCE says that the bus has been escorted out of the town, and he is the head of the Municipal Security Council. So that may just be additional information. But initially, the information we got indicated that there were more injuries, only that there is no casualty in terms of a death.
Hamza, if you want to tell us if you've been told already the numbers involved in this, how many people were injured and left severely?
One person has been reported to me as being injured on the hand. On the hand, one person. The rest of the passengers, the rest of the students have been carried away. I think just few of them were brought, probably out of panic and out of fear. You could be having some problems, and so they brought some of them to the hospital. But one person has been reported as being injured. I am yet to go there. I'm just in town. I was having a conversation with some few residents. I would be moving to the Presby Hospital if time allows me to see to myself. I'll be making point again to go to the other places where injured, because I wasn't in town. I went for a workshop like I indicated in the morning. There are other persons who were injured prior to my coming. So I need to take time and do all these things.
Yeah.
But I have to get all these facts from my security commanders, the defense intelligence, the DNI on the ground, the military commander, both the special task force and also the 11 mechanized commanders, and also the special task force for the police and the regular police in town. These are the people that regularly brief me as to the happenings in town. So I need to get fresh-hand information before I go to look at it and ascertain the veracity of the entire thing before I can say something.
And thankfully, we can also bring in right now the Member of Parliament for Bawku, Mahama Yariga, who's joining us. Mr. Yariga, have you heard already what we've just been talking about that happened in the last hour? The attack on the bus carrying trainee nurses has just come to your attention too?
Well, I heard it, but I can't confirm the details. But whatever it is something that we must condemn in no uncertain terms. We cannot tolerate such behavior where people just ambush vehicles and attack and shoot at random. That's something that is unacceptable, and we must condemn that and discourage such behavior.
And this is happening in the
I have
context.
consistently called on the security agencies to devise a mechanism for patrolling those major roads so that people can travel in relative safety.
Yeah, and Ms. Ayaga, this is happening in the context of what has happened in the last few days with the killing of some of the residents. You have been very consistent the last few days, making the point that you believe these were extrajudicial killings and the military officers were wrong in what had happened. You were demanding action. Have you received any assurances that something will happen to get to the bottom of this, if indeed these killings were not justified?
Well, definitely the military will always deny. But this time, like I indicated in my statement, I'm going to demand a full parliamentary inquiry, not just in relation to this incident, but the conduct of the military so far for the entire period that they have been in Bawku. I have refrained from that because I appreciate the difficulty of the situation on the ground. And I, more than anybody, appreciate the presence of the military on the ground to help protect all sides in the conflict. And indeed, they have stood up to the occasion many times. But there are instances of excesses, and we need to hold them accountable for those excesses, especially where the excesses are needless. And one such excess is what happened yesterday, where you went into a community, young people were sitting there, you apprehended them. If you suspect that they were keeping any or harboring any weapons, you should have arrested them and then taken them to the police station, but that did not happen. You beat them and then finally shot and killed 3 of them. Today, their mothers were demonstrating in the town, and again, the police were up, the soldiers were up against them, beating them up and then firing gunshots and scaring those women and going to shut down their market. So it is these excesses that I complain about. Otherwise, of course, ordinarily, military will not be in a place unless they are needed. And I must admit that we do need military presence there to help us deal with the conflict situation that we have. But we cannot also tolerate the military now becoming the problem. And that is what I think that the defense minister and the president must pay attention to. And we should discourage a situation where, soldiers just do whatever they want. They go on peacekeeping missions and they get all the accolades for being one of the best armed forces when they go out there for peacekeeping. But they don't treat the people the way that they are treating them in Bawku. If they were treating people in the countries that they go to for peacekeeping that are even more violent theaters, the way that they are treating people in Bawku, I don't think that the enviable reputation that they have obtained internationally or attained internationally would have been accorded them. So why do you treat, others elsewhere with that level of dignity and respect, and yet when you come back home, you treat your own citizens the way that they are treating people in Bawku?
I mean, today we've heard from the municipal chief executive who is with us. Amadou Hamza, you made this declaration, giving us a good sense of the security situation on the ground there.
There is no safe zone in Bawku. Even me as an MCE, where I reside is a very dangerous area. My life also is in danger. Wherever you are staying, your life is in danger. I see it as the most dangerous conflict ever in the world.
I mean, Hamza, I listened to you say this, and the conclusion you come to is Bawku is now a failed town, ungovernable. Security is completely broken down. This is a failure of national security, is it not?
Yes, if you say so, it's your own definition about whether or not it's a failure on the part of national security. But I'm just telling you, as a municipal chief executive, there is no place in Bawku that is safe.
Yeah, except that you're also the chair of the Security Council there in the municipality. You yourself unsafe. You declare
absolutely,
it as
and
a most unsafe.
So we will do our bit as far as the security situation is concerned in Bawku.
I mean, the security has lost control, is it? I mean, listening to you, you've lost control.
No. I don't have to go that tangent. Security has not lost control over the situation in Bawku. The numbers, the population, as against the numbers, is one of the causes. I must say so. The military will have its stand that maybe if you bring 10 military men, it's enough for Bawku. But I stand to differ because I'm a civilian, even though I'm asked to chair the council. But I know that today, if you decide to augment the number of security in town, I think it will go a long way to help us in Bawku.
Yeah, I mean, you on the ground.
We have called on that. We've done it.
Yeah,
on the numbers to be increased. Yet you should also know that the national security is also constrained in terms of finances, in terms of resources. If I tell you, if you go underground to find out how much has been spent to take care of Bawku, I bet you'd have a different opinion about it. So it's about resources also. It's not just a wholesale that national security has failed.
Yeah, but
I disagree with that entirely. But it is also about, yes.
You've just indicated that you've asked for more men. Currently, how many men do you have on the ground, police and military?
I cannot tell you. I cannot tell you exactly the men. Listen to me. They are in different phases. We have the 11 mechanized which are already in Bawku. We equally have the task force that was sent to Bawku. So for me to tell you, and day in, day out, they keep on adding the numbers and even reducing the numbers, let me say so. So it will be difficult for me to tell you exactly the number of soldiers at Bawku today. Some are supposed to go on pass, some are on leave, and some are also not well. So on the ground, if you see the number of Bawku is a very large area as compared to 2008 conflict. You cannot compare it to today.
But you've just declared it. I mean, to hear you say and declare Bawku as the most dangerous
place to live in the world, and that's I must say so.
Yeah, but
I must say so, and I'll continue to re-emphasize the point that Bawku is the most dangerous place to live in the world.
That, in a nutshell, encapsulates the problem with Bawku, as we've just been talking about there. I want to bring in the Reverend Dr. Enes Edujemfi, who is the chairman of the National Peace Council, joins us. Doc, thanks for your time here on Top Story. You just listened to the Municipal Chief Executive of Bawku, who is the chair of the Municipal Security Council, declared the place as the most dangerous place to live in the world. You have been trying. There's been a security solution to this problem. The military has actually been on the ground. There's a military solution to that, has been propagated over the years and pursued. There's been a political intervention. You have been trying to negotiate peace. To hear that declaration tonight, it appears to me all that effort hasn't yielded much. This is a catastrophic failure of national security, but also attempts to just negotiate this. What's your own reaction to that declaration?
Well, thank you, Evans, for having me on your program. In the first place, I think that we need to support the military and the police to bring stability to the area. Sometimes I think that the attack on the military and the police from the civilian public is wrong. But if we lose them, then we don't have anybody there to help us to
Absolutely. Stability. That's a good point.
So we need to support them. Now, generally, because of the number of ammunitions that are there, for instance, if a police or soldier meets somebody who is holding a gun, and some of the guns we have in that area are much more sophisticated than what the police and the military have, and you find somebody holding, for instance, 50 cartridges, immediately the police and the military will react because they are looking at their own safety. These are critical issues for us to reflect on and determine how do we help them to bring stability to the area where they also have some confidence to deal with the issues. I think these are very critical issues for us as a country to deal with. Because once we begin to bash them, then we are pushing them backward. It will look like, well, if the public cannot support us, what else can we do? Let's sit back and look at them and let them do whatever they want to do. But I think the situation is becoming much more difficult. But on our part, we have not given up. The O24 committee is actively working. The inter-ethnic committee is also working. And we hope that, giving us a little bit more time, there might be some way in resolving the problem that we do have on hand now.
I'm grateful, sir. That's the Reverend Dr. Enes Edujemfi, the chairman of the National Peace Council. If you're just joining us tonight, two developing stories for you. One, obviously, is the violence in Bawku, where just before we came on, bus carrying training nurses was attacked and has left several people currently injured. As we had, one person is on admission, but we've seen a video of at least two people in the hospital receiving treatment. The bus has now been escorted, but this is just a continuation of an escalation, significant escalation in the violence that re-erupted over the last few days, leading to the killing of at least 4 people there. Also, if you just join us on Top Story, we brought you that exclusive detail from that IMF Executive Board meeting that had been just finished a short 2 hours ago, with the outcome that Ghana has passed that first review, paving the way for the release of the $600 million. We have a special coverage of a joint press conference for you on the Joy News channel starting from 6:30. You want to join George Yaffe, Kojo Brace, and the team to look and also listen to the IMF, but also bring some analysis to that particular developing story tonight from the IMF Executive Board meeting. You want to join us on television for that. Ghana Connect is coming up in a minute. You don't want to miss the conversation. We are live in the Black Stars camp. We want you to join the conversation about our national team. We drew yesterday. Hopes dashed again, but some say the mathematics may favor us in the end in our last game. Would it really? Ghana is going to connect on that subject from across the world, really. Stay with us.
Brother Bernard.
Oh, yes.
Onya, this morning, dear, hunger won't finish me. I beg. If we go buy go back. This time, I won't miss you. Add small